Hi, Mama. If you've ever wondered, is this just baby blues or is it something more? This episode is for you. Today, we're breaking down the key differences between baby blues and postpartum depression so you can understand what you're feeling, what's normal, and when it's time to reach out for support. You are not alone, and there is hope. If this episode is triggering for you and you feel you need additional help to process your thoughts or feelings, please call or text the Postpartum Support International Hotline at 1-800-944-4773. Do you want practical steps to rein in the overwhelm and start feeling like yourself again, but struggle with feeling hopeless, unsupported, and misunderstood? If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Stephanie, wife, mom of 4, and a 2-time acute postpartum depression survivor. I learned the secrets of how to overcome the feeling of drowning and fully thrive as a new mom through life-giving hope and support. If you're ready for validation, encouragement, and those easy practical tips, then take a deep breath in, exhale, and we'll take the first steps together. Here we go. Hey friend, before we jump in, if you are enjoying this podcast or it has helped you in any way, I would be so grateful if you'd take a quick moment to leave a review on Apple Podcast. Your reviews help more moms find this show and get the support they need. You never know who it might reach. Thank you so much for being here. I remember sitting in a hotel room in Asia running a theater program with a fellow missionary and telling her I was pregnant. The first words out of her mouth after congratulations kind of threw me off. She told me to be on the lookout for postpartum depression, which is vastly different from the normal to experience baby blues. She said she had suffered with it after the birth of her first child and didn't even realize it until after the birth of her second, when she had a much more normal and expected experience. I just kind of tucked that entire conversation away in a box in my brain and didn't think about it again until 2 very emotional weeks had passed after the rather traumatizing birth of my first child in Asia, when I was sitting in that aforementioned tanned IKEA chair in my bedroom, holding my baby, home by myself, and I just had the thought, if I put her down, I'm going to hurt myself. It was completely out of the blue, and it didn't go away. It just got clearer and clearer. I did finally get in touch with my husband, who rushed home, and our American doctor thankfully made a private house call to let me know I was struggling with postpartum depression and to prescribe me an antidepressant. Together, we made a plan for some much-needed support going forward. I just remember thinking this would be so different if I was back home in the States. But the truth is, I had an even worse experience with PPD after the birth of my second daughter when we were living in the States, in Connecticut. And the second time, I was met with even less informed doctors who wouldn't listen to me at all and led me down a path that ended in my spiraling even worse. It's traumatic to think about for me, even to this day. I realized then that even in America, there is a lot to be learned about postpartum depression versus the baby blues. And 5 of those big differences and what you can do about them are what we are going to dive into now. First, timeline, how long symptoms last, because duration is one of the biggest differentiators. One of the most important clues in understanding what you're experiencing is how long it lasts. The baby blues are incredibly common, ladies. Up to 80% of new moms experience them. They usually begin around 2 to 3 days after birth, right when your hormones take a dramatic drop. You might feel weepy for no clear reason, overwhelmed, or unusually sensitive. One minute, you're staring at your baby in awe, and the next minute, you're crying because you can't find a clean burp cloth. But here's the key. Baby blues are temporary. Now, that does not mean you don't need support during this time. It just means that they typically improve on their own within about 10 to 14 days. Postpartum depression, on the other hand, doesn't follow that short timeline. It can begin any time within the first year postpartum and even during pregnancy. Some moms feel okay at first and then notice symptoms creeping in at around 6 weeks, 3 months, or even later. And unlike baby blues, PPD doesn't just fade on its own. The symptoms last longer than 2 weeks and often become more intense without support. You might notice in week 1, for example, that you're crying a lot, but still having moments of joy and connection. By week 3, if you're still crying daily, feeling low most of the time, and it's not improving or even getting worse, that's a sign this may be more than the baby blues. A simple, powerful tool to help is daily mood tracking. Each day for the first 2 to 3 weeks postpartum, ask yourself, how did I feel overall today? And am I improving, staying the same, or getting worse? If you notice that your mood isn't lifting or is declining, that's your signal to reach out. You don't have to wait until things feel unbearable to ask for help. Number 2, the severity of emotional symptoms matters. It's not just what you feel, it's how deeply you feel it. With the baby blues, emotions can feel heightened, but they're usually still manageable. You might feel tearful, irritable, or anxious, but those feelings tend to come and go. You can still experience moments of relief, laughter, or connection. With postpartum depression, the emotional experience is much heavier and more consuming. This can look like deep, persistent sadness that doesn't lift, or a sense of hopelessness, like things will never get better. Emotional numbness, feeling disconnected from your baby or your life, and intense guilt, like you're failing as a mom. In my case, it was all 4 of these, and more. For example, a mom with baby blues might say, I feel overwhelmed today, but I know it'll pass. A mom with PPD might say, I feel like I'm drowning and I don't see a way out. Another example, imagine trying to get through your day while carrying a heavy emotional weight that never lets up. Even small tasks feel enormous because your emotional capacity is just maxed out. So for this, ask yourself this question daily. Are my feelings manageable or do they feel overwhelming and consuming? If your emotions feel like they're taking over, like you can't escape them, reason with them, or get a break from them, that's a sign to reach out for support. You deserve relief, mama, and help is available. Number 3, how much symptoms interfere with life. Another major difference is how much your symptoms affect your ability to function day to day. This was a really big factor for me personally. With baby blues, even though you're emotionally, you can still generally care for your baby, get out of bed, eat meals, and complete your basic daily tasks, showering, all of that. It might feel harder than usual, but it is definitely still doable. With postpartum depression, even the simplest task can feel overwhelming or impossible. So you might experience struggling to get out of bed in the morning, forgetting to eat or having no appetite, have difficulty sleeping even when the baby is sleeping, which is not always the best advice, by the way, or feeling paralyzed when looking at basic tasks like showering or doing laundry. You may find yourself sitting on the couch knowing your baby needs something, and instead of getting up, you feel completely stuck, like your body won't respond. Or you might look at a simple to-do list and feel completely overwhelmed, unsure of where to start. That still happens to me, by the way. Another common experience is going through the motions, but feeling completely disconnected, like you're physically present, but mentally and emotionally checked out. So do a simple daily check-in. One question, can I function today? Not perfectly, not productively, just can I basically function today? If getting through the day feels like climbing a mountain, or if you're unable to meet your basic needs or your baby's needs, it's a strong signal that you need more support. Number 4, the type of thoughts experienced, because your thought patterns can tell you a lot about what you're experiencing. With baby blues, thoughts might include worry about doing things right, sensitivity to feedback or perceived judgment, and the occasional anxious thoughts about your baby. These are all perfectly normal and do go away. With postpartum depression, however, thoughts often become more intense, distressing, and persistent. These can include more intrusive thoughts, like unwanted, scary thoughts that pop into your mind. In my case, my husband deserves a better wife. My daughter deserves a better mom. The world would be better off without me. Fear of something bad happening to your baby, thoughts that feel completely out of character for you, harsh self-criticism, or feelings of worthlessness. For example, a mom might have a sudden intrusive thought like, what if I accidentally drop my baby down the stairs? These thoughts can and do feel terrifying, not because you want to act on them necessarily, but because they're so opposite of who you are. It's important to understand that intrusive thoughts are common in postpartum mental health struggles, and they do not mean you are dangerous or a bad mom. Another example is repetitive mental loops. I'm not good enough. My baby deserves a better mom. I'm failing. These thoughts can feel very real, even when they're not true. The most important step is breaking the silence. So tell someone you trust. Your partner, a friend, a therapist, or your doctor are great places to start. You can say, I've been having some thoughts that are scaring me and I need to talk about them. Speaking them out loud often reduces their power and helps you get the support you need. And last but certainly not least is number 5. Baby blues resolve naturally. PPD requires support. Baby blues typically improve with things like rest, reassurance, emotional support, and most importantly, time. Postpartum depression, however, usually requires active support and treatment, and that can look like therapy, such as talk therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, medical support like antidepressants, which can be safe during postpartum and breastfeeding, support groups, lifestyle and practical support, or any and all combinations of these. I've actually done all of them myself, and they've all been very beneficial. The good news is PPD is very treatable, and recovery is absolutely possible. Many moms feel hesitant to reach out because they think they should be able to, quote unquote, handle it, or they feel guilty asking for help. But the truth is, getting support early, mama, often leads to faster healing and a much smoother recovery. Think of it like any other medical condition. If you broke your leg, you wouldn't try to just push through the pain. You would get help. Postpartum mental health deserves that same level of care. So create a simple support plan, either before birth or any time after. Identify 1 to 2 people you can call when you're struggling. Know which provider you'll reach out to, whether it be an OBGYN, your primary care physician, or a therapist, and have resources saved in your phone. A fantastic resource I highly recommend and I've personally used and gifted to other moms is the Life with Baby workbook on Amazon. It's a great tool to help you process your experience and plan for support. It also makes a thoughtful gift, like I've done before, for new or expecting moms. So let's recap. Here's what you can do. Track your mood during the first 2 to 3 weeks. Watch for improvement versus worsening. 2. Ask yourself daily, are my feelings manageable or overwhelming? 3. Do a check-in. Am I able to function today? And 4. Pay attention to your thoughts, especially if they feel distressing or out of character. If your mood is worsening, your feelings feel overwhelming, your ability to function is decreasing, or your thoughts become distressing, it's definitely time to reach out for help. Tell a trusted partner, friend, or family member, or call your OBGYN or primary care provider. You are not alone, you are not failing, and you do not have to push through this on your own. Healing is possible, and there is hope. I am living proof of that. Remember, mama, if today's episode was triggering for you and you feel you need additional help to process your thoughts or feelings, please call or text the Postpartum Support International Hotline at 1-800-944-4773. You can also find their contact information in the show notes for each of my episodes and on their website by going to postpartum.net.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of my mom's show.
If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a mom friend who may be struggling to feel like herself and is in need of some encouragement today?
Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It blesses my mom's heart to know this podcast is helping you.
Okay, time to go change a diaper and do the school run. I'll meet you back in a few days for another episode.
Take care.